They started murdering political leaders last night in a Democrat lawmaker's house. A person showed up dressed as a cop, shot her and her husband, killed them both. Went to another lawmaker's house, also a Democrat, shot him and his wife. They survived, and this person is still at large. They found a manifesto in their vehicle with other Democratic lawmakers. This is where we are. We're there. Say what you want about any. This is Trump's America. This is so specific, and you can, oh, this was a one-off. I'm so sick of hearing about the radical left and the sarcasm of the nonviolent. I never claimed to be nonviolent, but y'all are out here fucking killing people. That's where we are now. But they set some cars on fire in California. First of all, I didn't see anybody set them on fire. I saw that they were on fire. Number two, y'all are fucking killing people. Dressed as a cop, like a wolf in wolf's clothing. I wonder if they're going to get like a cash reward or a medal. I know they're not going to get jail time for committing actual crime, you know?
Okay, so in the early hours of this morning, God rest their souls, two lawmakers, two political, I'm sorry, State Senator John Hoffman was wounded, and Melissa Hortman, the Minnesota lawmaker, was assassinated along with her husband. Now, I do know that John Hoffman was wounded pretty badly, and it was taken to a hospital. Him and his wife, the same exact person who did this hit did the hit on Hoffman as well, and they are presumed to be in critical condition, but it's not looking too good. A couple hours ago, it was hit or miss, and they're saying it's not looking too good. And I believe that they may end up, probably not pulling through, because now there is a active manhunt for the person who posed as a police officer in order to gain access into their home, right? But someone said it. I believe it was Nosy by Nature. I believe she said it, and I believe the same thing. And I'm gonna tell you why I believe what she said was accurate. That it wasn't someone pretending to be a police officer. It was an actual police officer. It was just someone that was activated. Now, one of the things that struck me as off is her last speech and interview that she gave on the 9th. I get the surface level of why everyone in the Democratic caucus was upset. I get that, because they were all on one accord. She pretended to be on the same accord and then voted opposite, right? But then somewhere in the interview, right, that she's giving to the reporter, she said, I know that they're going to be mad at me. And, they have every right to be, because they didn't expect this. But she says something about her coming to a compromise with the Republicans. And that stood out to me. I'm like, what are you talking about? She said she came to a compromise with the Republicans. And that's essentially what caused the entire bill to unravel. And that kind of screwed everything up. And when she said that kind of turned a light bulb on for me. When Nosy Bystander said, I don't think that this was someone pretending to be a police officer. I think it was a police officer. And it also hit me, this was an assassination. There were two cops that were that were there, that literally got to the scene of her home as the police officer was exiting the home, and was questioned by the other two police officers. And they were asking him, like, who are you? What your name is? And the police officer didn't even respond, just immediately start shooting at police officers, and they got into a standoff. That police officer got away. And I hate to be that black person, but if it was a person of color, oh, baby, if it was a person of color, brown or black, they wouldn't ever got away. So in my mind, I'm like, yeah, this definitely not adding up. Because how is it now you have to go on a manhunt for somebody that you got into a standoff with, and it seemed like this was something that was plotted, like this was a plotted thing? This seems more like, and let me stop me when y'all think I'm going crazy. Am I bugging? Or did they convince her to vote the opposite way and they tying up loose ends? Am I bugging? I want to know what the compromise was. I need to know that. What was the compromise? That's where I'm at. What was the compromise? Because now I got 1,000,001 questions. And the only way I'm looking is with the Republicans, because the only thing that connects these people is the Republicans. And she said, hold on, let me show you. Okay, listen to what she says.
Leader Murphy said that the undocumented immigrant bill was the most painful vote she's ever taken. You were the only Democrat to vote for it. How do you assess that vote?
Yeah, in 20 years, I don't remember ever having to vote for something as painful as that. It was a condition that Republicans required to fund state government, and I agreed to a compromise on behalf of my caucus because it's more important to fund state government.
She said, I agreed on behalf of my caucus because I believe that it's more important to fund state government. Now, the opposing party would have been, they snatching money away from illegal immigrants so that they're able to get health care. That's money that the Republicans feel like they don't deserve anyways because they want the immigrants gone. In my mind, I'm like, what conversation did she have with these Republicans that in 20 years, she has never, ever, ever voted in that direction or even so much as considered that kind of like voting within that hemisphere? You know what I'm saying? The one thing about liberals is their strong sense of like liberation and justice and all that. And in 20 years, she has never voted in that direction. That on top of that, it felt like low key, like she knew like something was. It wasn't just that she fucked up from voting, but like she had no other choice. Like her back was against the wall and she had no other choice. So what happened in that meeting that caused that woman to have to vote in that direction? What dirty game is the Republicans playing, and why did they target her out of everybody? Those are the questions that I'm wondering, because it definitely was somebody of the law that was able to get away. Ain't no way in the world average everyday Joe Schmo would have gotten away. There's no way. I'm not willing to believe it. This seemed like more like an inside job. Call me a conspiracy theorist, but it's a lot of things not adding up. It's a lot of, and now y'all want us to be excited because there's a manhunt suspect on the political assassination when this is given every bit of inside job. You mean to tell me y'all got Israeli spyware for literally everything? Y'all tapping phones without our knowledge. Y'all doing this, that, and the third. And y'all let this man get away. And y'all didn't get on his ass within 2.5 seconds the way that y'all was on Luigi ass, the way y'all was on everybody else's ass. This screams inside job. Let me know if I'm bugging y'all. It could just be me. But I'm like, is she the only one? Nah, he got away because he was supposed to get away.
When I get excited, I want to dance.
A stunning video of the accused assassin dancing. 57-year-old Vance Boelter is preaching at a church in the Congo, a rousing sermon that couldn't be farther removed from the hatred police say fueled his shocking murder spree. This video has also surfaced of Boelter claiming to work with law enforcement with a specialty in removing bodies from crime scenes.
We're working with a lot of police officers and death investigators at the location where a decedent is found. Could be a crime scene or just a natural death.
Boelter is charged with the murder of State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark, and the attempted murder of State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette. We're learning chilling new details of these shootings. The attempt to assassinate the Hoffmans was caught on home security video. A federal prosecutor said that video was the stuff of nightmares. He said the suspect pretended to be a cop and banged on the door, shining a flashlight on them. The senator opened the front door and quickly realized this was no cop.
When Senator Hoffman attempted to push Boelter out and stop him from entering his home, Boelter shot him repeatedly. Boelter then shot Miss Hoffman repeatedly. Boelter fled the scene, and the Hoffman's daughter called 911.
Their 28-year-old daughter's life was saved by her heroic mom, who shielded her with her body. An hour later, cops almost captured Boelter as he was about to murder the Hortmans.
When Boelter saw the officers get out of the car, he drew his weapon and began firing. He rushed into the house through the front door, and when he entered, he murdered Representative Hortman and her husband, Mark.
The shooter is still in the house. They believe barricaded with the firearm.
Before escaping, he shot and wounded the Hortman's dog, Gilbert, who had to be euthanized. Police say this image shows Boelter dressed as a police officer and wearing a hyper-realistic latex Halloween mask. Here's what the mask looks like in the light of day when we tried it on. Cops recovered weapons and a hit list from Boelter's SUV and a notebook listing websites and search engines he used to research his victims. After the murders, the FBI says Boelter texted his family, warning them, "Dad went to war last night. There's going to be some people coming to the house armed and trigger happy, and I don't want you guys around." And this is the moment Boelter surrendered to cops late last night after an hour-long siege near his home in rural Minnesota.
Do you remember these commercials? They were all over TikTok and IG. They always bothered me because I always wondered I didn't wonder. It's like, what kind of person uses this type of thing? And we all knew it was for something horrible. During that time as a bald black man, I'd say I had my reservations. There was like a summer, every other day, there was a crime being committed with those masks on. You know, it's usually like a white guy robbing a bank or something. And, he chose the bald black guy. But it wasn't exclusively black masks because, there's always outliers. Well,
suspected Minnesota shooter has been captured. Vance Boelter's arrest brings an end to a nearly 2-day manhunt that involved hundreds of law enforcement officers.
There's no question that this is the largest manhunt in the state's history.
He is accused of carrying out the targeted shootings that killed Democratic lawmaker Melissa Hortman and her husband, and wounding Minnesota State Senator John Hoffman and his wife over the weekend. Police say Boelter wore a mask and posed as a police officer to carry out the crime. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz says appears to be politically motivated.
Listen, making those items readily available to the consumer just seems like it would be irresponsible. I don't know why they're allowing this thing to happen in such a way. If you were to sell, I don't know, tchotchkes, tactical gear, other things at a cheap price for consumers. Look, I just got this off the TikTok shop. It's a lock picking thing. I was just going to practice with it. Anyway, that's the idea of doing such a thing and making these items readily available to public consumers. It almost seems like it's kind of like population control. Nah. All right, then, y'all be easy.
Something's gonna happen. And before it happens, I just wanted to say Mossad did it, the CIA did it. So the man they are currently seeking out as a primary suspect is this guy named Vance Boelter. And a number of things are already coming out about him. But all of them, in my opinion, point to the fact that he is the perfect asset for an intelligence agency. And this is not presuming his guilt whatsoever. I'm just saying, like, the information we do have about this person just speaks to the fact that he is the perfect pawn for any number of people, either directly or indirectly. Paramilitary experience, experience on multiple continents, working for private contractors, big entities, more covert entities, experience in war zones, right? He has experience in the West Bank and in Gaza. And the latest thing on his resume, it would seem, places him in the DRC doing some type of contracted security work. I've said it in another video about the changing nature of modern warfare and insurgency, but even if he wasn't directly approached, coerced, etc., does not mean that he was not an asset or an instrument of an ideological movement or organization. I really do feel like there are methods of soft influence and asset control at the disposal of groups, ideological groups, and organizations, governmental organizations, as a result of the way that social media works. I think there are ways to influence people and turn them into assets without them even realizing that that's what's happening. Again, I'm not presuming that's what's happening here, but I am standing by my guess that it is deeper than a lone wolf, because I really don't think lone wolf is an accurate statement or concept to apply to a lot of these situations. these lone wolves are influenced by ideological movements. And even if it's not as compacted and clearly legible on paper as, okay, he is soldier number X, Y, and Z, does not mean that they are not amongst the ranks of something larger.
To all of the Democrats in my comment section, talking about how alleged assailant Vance Boelter was a MAGA supporter. Is this where you got your information from?
He had lots of friends, trust me. I wish I could have been there to stop him.
I'm sorry if I don't fully believe the Papa John's employee who is crying on the front step, claiming that he is Vance Boelter's roommate, because why does a married man who has a home and a wife have a roommate that lives in a shithole? And you can say all you want to that the board that he was appointed to is a bipartisan board, and I don't believe you. I believe that the board is meant to be bipartisan, but I don't believe there's any way in hell that somebody like Tim Walz would put a conservative on the board of anything. Walz has said he wants a shadow government so that they can tell the truth whenever the Republicans are lying. He said he roots for the downfall of Tesla. He said he could beat up conservative men. So no, I don't think that someone like Tim Walz would put a MAGA supporter on the board of being a dog catcher, let alone workforce development. Additionally, why would a MAGA supporter want to unalive Democratic lawmakers that recently voted with Republicans on a bill? Make it make sense.
Oh my God, guys, does this look like a Republican to you?
No, because it isn't. And it also isn't the shooter from Minnesota. The woman in that picture is Lily Schechter, and she was the chair for the Harris County Democratic Party, and that's her husband beside her. He's a lawyer. It's not even the same person. MAGA is coping so hard because his best friend, who's also his roommate, been best friends since they were little kids, is like, he doesn't like Nancy Pelosi, he doesn't like Tim Walz, he doesn't like Joe Biden. He'd be really mad if you guys keep calling him a Democrat. I don't know why people are calling him a Democrat, because he's always been a Republican, he's MAGA, and he voted for Trump. Tim Walz probably appointed 10,000 people to bipartisan boards every year, okay? Do you think he knows every person? Not to mention, they're bipartisan, okay? This guy just was recommended by another guy who was recommended by another guy. They've got to latch onto this. They've got to have it.
The assassin who shot multiple Democratic lawmakers this morning has been confirmed to be a strong Trump supporter who voted for Donald Trump, as well as a registered Republican. I want you to make sure you share this video because these right-wingers have been spreading heinous lies about this. This morning, they rushed to blame the left, to blame Democrats for this, and it turns out all along that this was a Trump supporter, a Trump voter. Here's the suspect right here, Dr. Vance Boelter, and you could see that he was part of all of these evangelical groups, had all these evangelical interests. He was a right-wing Christian nationalist. And even the New York Post, in their story, confirmed that he is a registered Republican. They put this, by the way, about 30 paragraphs down in their article. Now, this should have been obvious to everybody from the beginning. After all, his hit list included nearly 70 names that included abortion providers, pro-abortion rights advocates, and lawmakers in Minnesota and other states, Democratic lawmakers, by the way. It also planned to target the No Kings protests, and a second official also confirmed that he was targeting abortion providers. And the best friend of the gunman said that the assassin was a strong Trump supporter and voted for Donald Trump.
We even asked about Mr. Boelter's political affiliations, and David Carlson, once again his roommate and best friend, known him since fourth grade, did say Boelter voted for Trump and that he was a strong supporter.
So all of those right-wing grifters this morning who rushed to blame this on Democrats when Democrats were the victims of these crimes, when a Democratic lawmaker was killed, when the individual who did the killing was a registered Republican and a Trump supporter, all those people should be absolutely ashamed, and you should never, ever listen to one word that they say ever again. Follow our account for the truth, and remember to add the Midas Touch podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
What happened in Minnesota definitely spooked everyone, but you know who it really is making uncomfortable? The president. Now, a lot of people will hear me say that and go, what do you mean? You know, he is clearly getting what he's wanted. But that's not really true. What we're starting to see here is the cult going rogue. It was always bound to happen. Remember when I said a while ago that being in MAGA, being a part of this movement, buying into everything that Taco Man says is a lot of fun when he's running. It's a lot of fun on the way up. It's a lot of fun in the early stages. But when they actually secure that power, when they are no longer the underdog who is trying to rise up in order to make a change that his cult followers want to see, things start changing. Because once you have that power, you need to deliver. You have to deliver on your promises to these people, and you have to do it in a timely manner. With these two people in Minnesota acting the way they have acted, assassinating a Democratic lawmaker and mortally injuring another one, it means that they think the president is not moving fast enough. And they think that what they're doing is going to contribute to his cause. It's going to move it forward, move it closer to the direction that they want to see things going. They are willing to take matters into their own hands because they think this is what he wants them to do. And that's why I say things are going to get spooky, because if more people start taking the law into their own hands, absolutely, we as American citizens are in danger, and we should prepare ourselves. But this also means he is in danger too from his own constituents. It means he no longer has that very tight grip on their psyche, that tight grip on their behavior. He can't tell them to do things anymore. They are just acting on their own. This is when the power of the cult becomes stronger than the leader itself. And that is why pushing the rhetoric that he pushes and engaging in the conversations that he engages in are very dangerous. This is why people are always trying to push back on him or try and get him to stop talking the way he's been talking over the last 10 years. Because he has been playing with powers, he has been playing with forces that are way stronger than he is. But his ego was never going to let him see that. This is very spooky for the Taco Man, and it's another sign that he has lost control of absolutely everything. Because if his hardcore followers are starting to feel anxious enough to take actions like this, it will not be long before they turn that frustration at him. I know a lot of you might think that would never happen, but I promise you that is the natural progression of every single cult that has ever existed. When the leadership shows that they can't deliver their promises when his followers want him to, they get angry. And they get more angry at him than they ever were at the people he told them to be angry at.
There is a phenomenal content creator on this app by the name of Danny Lime, and I absolutely love just his analysis of the current state of American politics. I think that it is always just well thought out. He does a great job of explaining his rationale to how he comes up with his opinions on political piece, and he does a great deal of breaking news as well. In particular, I want to talk about something that he brought up about yesterday that I hadn't even really considered, but I think it is. I think he's absolutely correct when he says it. And what he was talking about was the unfortunate events that we saw unfold in Minnesota, what eventually happened in Utah, and it did take place in Texas as well. And that was this: that this administration is actually afraid of what happened in those states. And here's why. Even though we know that those folks that did these heinous acts were his supporters, it's also proof that he's lost control of them. You know, they no longer are controlled by his words. They no longer just believe in everything that he says. They're taking matters into their own hands. And once they do that, think about this. He doesn't have control of us. He doesn't really have control of anything other than his base. Once they turn on him, and they will, and Danny says the same thing as well, what happens then? I believe that was there was that song everybody was singing, "The Leopards Would Eat My Face." Folks, this is a man that is afraid of the very thing that he helped create. And I love it for him. I love it for him. I just hate that everyone else has to be in this painful place with him. But he deserved this. So yes, I agree. I think Danny is absolutely correct.
There's been a lot of misinformation that the suspected Minnesota assassin is a registered Democrat that worked with Tim Walz. Here's what we know for sure. His best friend and roommate, somebody that's known him for 40 years, said that he was a staunch supporter of Donald Trump and voted for him in the last election. What we do know is he assassinated one Democrat lawmaker and tried to assassinate another one who just got out of surgery and right now is still alive. What we do know is that he worked for a private security firm that has ties in the West Bank, that has ties in other occupied parts of Palestine. What we do know is to commit these egregious and horrible crimes, he wore a disguise. He essentially had a ball cap on. What we do know is in his manifesto, he was going to target other Democrat lawmakers like Ilhan Omar, like Tim Walz. What we do know is that he was also going to target pro-choice lawmakers, pro-choice organizations. Does that sound like somebody that's a Democrat to you? Let's use our brains here and go with what we know and not just what we think and what people are telling us on Twitter. That is what we know. Someone assassinated lawmakers, okay? His best friend said that he was a Trump supporter. The lawmakers he assassinated and that were on his list were Democrats. Use your brain.
So I just got video of the Minnesota shooter who killed the Democratic state politician and her husband.
And I'm just as excited about Jesus.
And it's really something.
When I get excited,
Et quand je suis excité,
I want to dance.
je veux danser.
And what Jesus did for me.
C'est que Jésus a fait pour moi.
Jesus is God.
Jésus est Dieu.
Almighty God.
C'est le Dieu
He
puissant.
saved my life.
Il a sauvé ma vie.
I'm excited about God.
Je suis excité de Dieu.
And I want to worship Him.
Et c'est pourquoi je l'adore.
Because He's coming again. And
Jésus,
he's
il revient encore.
And He's got plans. He's
Il
got
a
plans
de plans
and purposes
et le dessein
for each one of you.
Pour chacun de vous ici.
And for me.
Mr. Boelter's political affiliations and David Carlson, once again his roommate and best friend, known him since 4th grade, did say Boelter voted for Trump and that he was a strong supporter.
You all mark my words. Whenever they catch the suspect responsible for that act of domestic terrorism in Minnesota, the narrative is quickly going to be pushed out that he suffers from mental health issues. Whenever the perpetrators of violent crime, especially crimes that have multiple victims, are of a certain hue, that old chestnut is always pulled out by the media. I'm just waiting for it. I'm counting it down. You're going to hear about how he was a business owner, a husband and a father, and he worked in government, an upstanding citizen of society, but he was having mental difficulties. He's a lone wolf. They will call this dude anything and everything to try and garner sympathy for him and not call him exactly what he is, a white domestic terrorist. So remember, y'all, mark my words.
So I just want to let you know that I love you guys both, and I wish it hadn't gone this way. I don't want to say anything more and implicate you in any way, because you guys don't know anything about this. But I love you guys, and I'm sorry for all the trouble this has caused. He was a loving, caring guy, you know, loved his family, loved his friends, and loved God, and I don't know why he did what he did. It's just, it's not Vance. No one will believe this. No one that grew up. He had lots of friends, trust me. And I wish I could have been there to stop him.
Can you talk about his politics a little bit? I know that you had some discussions. I just wanted to talk about it.
Well, everyone's calling him a Democrat. He's not a Democrat. He would be offended if people called him a Democrat. Because of this board thing he was on for Governor Walz, it wasn't to serve. He was just serving the community. But I can't believe a political issue would cause him to do such a thing.
Did he ever bring up the senator or the representative who were targeted?
Like I was saying, no, he never talked about them. I didn't know those people. I didn't recognize their names.
Any politicians he mentioned?
Well, he mentioned Nancy Pelosi. He didn't like Jim Walz.
Tim Walz?
Didn't like Jim Biden. But
Tim Walz? What would you say about him?
Well, I mean, nothing. It's just normal. Well, I don't like this that Tim Walz did this. I don't like it that he did that.
Did he mention the protests that were planned for yesterday?
He never mentioned the protests.
What do you make of everything that's happened here and the fact
Maybe
that
I mentioned it to him, but I don't think he mentioned anything about it.
What would you tell him?
I would tell him to surrender himself so he can be taken alive, because he's like my best friend, so I don't want him to be killed. I don't want him to kill anyone else, So I think if I saw him, I could talk him down, but I don't know where he is.
And did he listen to any particular podcasts or TV shows or anything online that concerns you?
Well, you listen to Infowars, but I kind of said, well, it's like 50% truth. And I kind of said, don't take everything what they say for granted. I wasn't a real truthful. I mean, they're on for some things, but some things are way off on.
Did he talk much about Trump? And what did he say, if so?
I was a Trump supporter. Voted for Trump. If you like Trump, I like Trump.
So no one's going to talk about the fact that they're literally assassinating Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota. And this might be a thing. The assassin disguised himself as a police officer so that they would have their guard down. They're in a freaking park, for crying out loud. And they pew-pewed them multiple times. And they assassinated a Democratic lawmaker and his wife. And they assassinated they pew-pewed another Democratic lawmaker and his wife in another location. This is coordinated. You see, the problem I have is that you and the media do a fucking horrible job. You and the media refuse to call out and stridently fucking say that right-wing MAGA folks are more likely to fucking undertake physical domestic terrorist violence against their political opponents than the left is. They are more likely to do so. MAGA right-wing, they are more likely a danger to law enforcement and police officers than the left are. But yet we have a sheriff who's promising to unalive people if they throw rocks at his officers at the No Kings protest planned in his purview. The media allows the right to frame the left like if they're such violent threats. The media allows the right to raise up some shroud, some contrived shroud of Antifa, like if it's some paramilitary group, like if it's a huge threat to everyone. Meanwhile, the right wing, MAGA, are the real fucking threats. And no one wants to fucking say the obvious because Trump is a petulant child who loves to harass the shit out of people with nuisance lawsuits, expending financial resources like towards no end. He loves to harass you with lawsuits. He loves to put the full force of, no, he has full force of U.S. Department of Justice, to harass people. Financially exhausting. Even though if they go to court, they would win their case. But the point is to harass people. And you news media folks, you're fucking despicable. It's time to talk about the fact that the right wing are more violent. The right wing are a threat to fucking democracy. The right wing are a threat to people's fucking lives, to everyday Americans' lives. You MAGA assholes are murderous. And no one is saying anything about it. God damn it, man. 2 lawmakers in Minnesota, their spouses targeted. All 4 of them pew-pewed. 2 passed away. And the other 2 are in serious condition. Nah, man. Fuck y'all. Fuck this.
Vance Boelter, the primary suspect in the killing of Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota, was apprehended, arrested, and charged with only second-degree murder. Second-degree murder removes the element of premeditation, which is exactly what this was.
In there? Why is it not a terrorism charge is the question. We brought the charges that we think are appropriate right now. Obviously, these crimes are about 48 hours old, so we have an ongoing investigation, and I can't comment as to what other charges may or may not.
Vance Boelter is being accused of assassinating one Democratic senator and being accused of attempting to assassinate a Democratic representative. The truck he was driving in had a manifesto, a list of over 45 names of other Democratic leaders, including the governor, Tim Walz, and the flyers for the protests, in which insinuated that he was going to go to the protests and harm people. If that's not premeditation, I'm not sure what is. Video footage of him arriving to the houses, and you can see him dressed in a full police uniform, a mask on, tasers, guns, which means he went there with the intent to confuse them in order to gain access and trust to kill them. This is domestic terrorism. This is political violence, grade A, no confusion about it. Why is it that this man is not being charged with first-degree murder? Makes you go, Makes you go,
Release the ring cam footage. Since y'all got a screenshot, release the ring cam footage, because the story that the police officers are giving about these 2 lawmakers and the shooting up in Minnesota does not add up. You got a whole screenshot from a door cam footage. Okay, some way camera, they're releasing. You can't, because something does not add up. Something is not right. You got one officer in front of, a news conference talking about how he went on to shoot and have a whole gunfight with a police officer before he was able to, go through the house and shoot Melissa and her husband. And then another one said that he shot, these people in their home. Like, dude, no, something's not right. It just doesn't add up. And even at 5:30 in the morning, I know your shit stinks. I could smell it from all the way from Minnesota to California. It just doesn't make sense. Nothing is making sense. Just release the footage, and I promise you. And the whole roommate, reading the cell phone bullshit. Like, how is he gonna read it? Wow, he can't even show his phone. FBI agents would have fucking, confiscated that goddamn thing, and it's evidence at this point. So how is a man able to sit there with a phone? My best friend sent me a text, and he said he's a Republican, he's a Trump supporter, and he has got to say, I gotta go, my friend. Apparently we're stupid now. Jesus.
You won't believe what I found on YouTube about the alleged shooter, Minnesota shooter, Vance Boelter. I'm going to bring this up to you because I'm getting really tired of MAGA trying to push this misinformation, disinformation, that he was a liberal, he was appointed by Walz. First of all, Vance Boelter was appointed to that board by Mark Dayton in 2016. He was reappointed by Governor Tim Walz. The board has 41 members who are appointed by the governor, and its goal is to improve business development in the state. While they could not find political affiliation, those that knew him, Boelter is a Christian who voted for President Donald Trump and opposes abortion and LGBTQ rights, according to interviews with his childhood friend and videos of his sermons posted online. I found the sermon online, just a little piece of it, and I'm going to share it with you.
Particulièrement aux États-Unis, they don't know what sex they are. They don't know how their sexual orientation. They're confused. Ils ne savent pas ce qu'ils sont exactement. Ils ont une confusion. The enemy has gotten so far into their mind and their soul. Et l'ennemi est entré dans le fond de leur pensée et de leur âme. But this word, mais cette parole, cuts deeper. Va aux profondeurs. Because it's living. Parce qu'elle est vivante. And it's active. Et elle est agissante. And God goes down there and pulls that out. Et elle peut entrer dans notre cœur et enlever tout ce qui est de mal. And He sets every person free. Et pouvoir nous libérer. There shouldn't be one person in this room. Il doit y avoir quelqu'un dans cette salle that leaves tonight qui est en train de vivre le péché. With a sin or a problem you're dealing with in your heart and soul. Peut-être que tu as un problème qui est vraiment dans ton cœur qui te fait souffrir. Because Jesus has the answer. Parce que Jésus-Christ a la réponse. But He may ask a question. Mais il va te poser une question. The Holy Spirit may come to you. Le Saint-Esprit peut venir vers toi. He may come to a man. Il peut venir vers un homme. And say, who's that woman? Et puis il va demander, qui es-tu? Or he may come to a woman. Il peut venir à une femme. And say, who's that man? Il peut demander à la femme, qui est cet homme? Il demande à l'homme, qui est cette femme? He already knows. Dieu connaît déjà. Or he may say, where are you? Il peut te demander, où es-tu? And when God asks a question, mais quand Dieu pose cette question, we need to answer. Nous avons besoin de répondre. And if I'm that man that's doing something with a woman, même si c'est que tu as fait avec un homme ou une femme, and the word of God comes to me, la parole de Dieu vient vers moi, I can be like Cain. Je ne peux pas être comme Caïn and say, I don't know, I don't know. Et dire au Seigneur, je ne sais pas, je ne sais pas. But then that's what I get. That's what I deserve if I don't acknowledge God. Si je ne reconnais pas Dieu, c'est ce que je mérite.
It actually reminds me of a scripture that I'm going to share with you. Matthew 7:15 and 20 in the King James Version for you. You know. Beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore by the fruits ye shall know them. Painting Jesus as a homophobe is not only blasphemous, it's also disingenuous to the message. But you see, white supremacist bigots, Christian nationalists, don't want to be like Christ at all. They find no power in humility. They find no power in love or joy or hope or faithfulness. They lack wisdom and knowledge, the discernment to rightfully divide the word from truth, according to 2 Timothy. Hebrews 13:9 tells us not to be led away by strange doctrine, and that our hearts should be rooted in grace, not with the consumption of ceremonial meats that do nothing for the body. I thought that Mr. Boelter would understand that. I thought that the Christian nationalist base would understand that. I thought that MAGAs would understand that. Not all Christians are followers of Christ. I know many good Christians. I don't know many good Christians that are Christ followers. And for someone that discussed Cain, Mr. Boelter unaliving one of the most progressive Democrats in Minnesota is not lost upon me at all. Because I find a parallel, or two or three, with the stoning of Abel by Cain.
These people are crazy. There's something wrong with them. There's something wrong with them.
And Democratic House Representative Melissa Hortman and their spouses have been shot by someone impersonating a police officer. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is calling this a targeted attack. Police say the suspect is a white man with brown hair wearing black body armor over a blue shirt and blue pants. He's considered armed and dangerous. Wow, we will keep you updated on this story as we learn more.
I'll continue to have health insurance, so I'm fine. What I worry about is the people who will lose their health insurance. I know that people will be hurt by that vote, and we worked very hard to try to get a budget deal that wouldn't include that provision. And we tried any other way we could to come to a budget agreement with Republicans, and they wouldn't have it. So, you know, I did what leaders do. I stepped up and I got the job done for the people of Minnesota.
I've talked to countless lawmakers today who are, of course, heartbroken, but frankly, they're also very frightened for their own safety.
I know that people will be hurt by that vote, and we worked very hard to try to get a budget deal that wouldn't include that provision.
DFL Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman emotional following the House's adjournment from a special session Monday. Hortman was the lone DFL lawmaker to cast a vote to cut Minnesota Care access for undocumented immigrants. It's a move she made with a heavy heart.
I did what leaders do. I stepped up and I got the job done for the people of Minnesota.
The bill was deeply unpopular with members of the DFL caucus. Members have repeatedly expressed frustration that the bill was part of a compromise, one that would ensure the necessary GOP votes to pass the rest of the state budget.
We are tremendously disappointed and gut-wrenched at this decision, at this compromise that compromises our communities that are most vulnerable.
Hortman knows she let down her own caucus members with the vote.
They're right to be mad at me. I think some of them are pretty angry. I think that their job was to make folks who voted for that bill feel like crap, and I think that they succeeded.
Over in the Senate, a similar situation unfolded. Senate Majority Leader Erin Murphy forced to vote for a bill she too disagreed with to uphold the integrity of their compromise.
This one hurt. This one is a wound because of its reason. My colleagues across the aisle set this as their number one priority.
Asked whether the move would drive a wedge between her and the rest of her caucus, her DFL colleague, Senator John Marty, quickly stepped to her defense.
As a member of the caucus, she clearly was fighting against it every step of the way. In the negotiations, if we wanted a budget, we had to agree to that. She agreed to put up one vote for us because of that.
Reporting in St. Paul, I'm Quinn Gorham.
Home in the suburbs of Minneapolis. State Senator John Hoffman and his wife also shot in their home not too far away. Both have undergone surgery, expected to survive. Officials say the suspect was impersonating a police officer and now believed to be on foot. He was last seen in Brooklyn Park, where there is an active shelter-in-place order. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz now recommending people that not attend any political rallies in the state today until that suspect is caught. We know one event in Minneapolis has already been canceled as thousands gather around the country for the anti-Trump No Kings protest. Joining me now is investigative reporter Olivia Rubin, senior White House correspondent Selena Wang, and former NYPD Chief of Detectives Bob Boyce. Olivia, I want to start with you. We're learning some new details as well. The suspect allegedly had a hit list of other Democratic leaders.
Officials said at the press conference earlier, Morgan, that they had found a list inside of that car
car that he had at one of the lawmakers' homes. Remember, they said that it looked like a police cruiser with lights flashing, and now sources are telling us a bit more about exactly who was on that list that was found in the car. They're saying that it included multiple Democratic lawmakers, both at the state and the federal level. That included Governor Tim Walz, who we heard speaking earlier today. It includes the Democratic State Attorney General Keith Ellison. It also includes Congressman Ilhan Omar, who of course is quite outspoken and known from that state, and another senator from Minnesota, Tina Smith. So those are high-level, notable names. We're also told that investigators are looking into whether or not this suspect or person of interest was possibly motivated by extreme views on abortion. So a little bit more coming out about who this individual could have been targeting and perhaps why. But again, we've heard from law enforcement that this is a rapidly developing situation. They are getting more information and they are also learning as they go.
Certainly concerning issue. You said the governor of Minnesota also on that list as well. Liv, hang with me for a second. I want to go to Bob because, Bob, what's being done now to protect the other politicians that Olivia just mentioned that are on this list?
Morgan, everybody on this list right now is being protected by police, law enforcement, and probably the FBI as well. More likely the FBI. They're beyond that initial grid right now. This just happened at 3:30 in the morning. So now we're past that grid that they had locked down. We're looking for this individual in many places. I believe they said they have a POI. So this seems to be they have this individual identified. Now is they have to find him and see how much planning he did in the aftermath of this attack. Those officers who engaged at that second house today probably saved lives of other politicians, other elected officials, on that list. Because that person looked like there was no stop to him. Initially, the law enforcement does have people imitating us, and that's the problem. It's a big problem everywhere in the country. And this person planned this out to do this last night.
And Bob, while I have you, how concerning is it that not only is he impersonating this officer allegedly, but he's also